Determine the x and y intercepts for the relation represented by x squared plus 4y squared equals 64. Graph the relation by creating a table of values. What are the domain and range? Is the relation a function? First, for the x-intercepts. These are points on the x-axis that the graph intersects. The y value at these points then is 0. Simply substitute y equals 0 into the equation and solve for x. Similarly, for the y-intercepts. These are points on the y-axis that the graph intersects. Here, the x value is 0, so we substitute x equals 0 and then solve for y. To graph the relation, simply substitute values for x and then solve for y. This will give you points that we can plot on the grid and then connect the points. For this question, to get the x-intercepts, we substitute y equals 0. X squared plus 4 times 0 squared equals 64. We then have x squared equals 64, and we take the square root of both sides. Always remembering, though, that we have to take the positive and negative square root. We then get x equals positive or negative 8. For the y-intercepts, here x equals 0. We then have 0 squared plus 4y squared equals 64, or simply 4y squared equals 64. Dividing both sides by 4 gives y squared equals 16, and then we take the square root of both sides again. We get y is equal to plus or minus 4 as the y-intercepts. To graph this relation, we can first of all use the intercepts that we already found. First of all, we have our x-intercepts, and then our y-intercepts. We can then have other points where we're going to use, first of all, x equals 4. We get y being approximately negative 3.5 and 3.5. And then using x equals negative 4, we get y also equals negative 3.5 and positive 3.5. Plotting all of these points onto our grid, first of all, our x-intercepts. Then we have our y-intercepts, and then all of our other points. And then we have a nice smooth curve connecting these points. For the domain of this relation, we're looking at the possible x values. Note that x can be any value between negative 8 and positive 8. We then have negative 8 less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 8. We also must include here that x is an element of the set of real numbers. For the range, here we're looking at the y values. The minimum y of negative 4 and the maximum y value of positive 4. Again, y is an element of the set of real numbers. Is this relation a function? Note that at all x values between negative 8 and positive 8, excluding negative 8 and positive 8 themselves, each input value or x value will give 2 output values or y values. Therefore, this relation is not a function.